Welcome back to the Sibling Group Chat. I'm Owen.
And I'm Cassidy.
And today we are back at it with the Odyssey review, episode 70. Woohoo! A Prisoner for Christ.
Is this episode 70 or episode 80? Or are my numbers off on my
70.
notes?
It's episode 70.
I think that might be the 80th episode of Adventures in Odyssey. I think that might be where my number is coming from. I was going to say, my notes are my numbers on my notes are way off that. But anyway, I digress. This is, the 80th episode of Adventures in Odyssey. It aired on July 29th, 1989. And it is actually part of Album 6, Mission Accomplished. We're going to start moving a little bit to Album 6 here as we finish Album 5. And in this episode, Whit sends Nicholas Adamsworth on a journey to meet an escaped slave named Onesimus and an apostle named Paul. And our themes are forgiveness, repentance, and the biblical story of Onesimus.
Yes. We start with something that definitely places this in... I don't know. It places it more with Album 5 than it does Album 6 in that we have Nicholas. But other than that, we have Nicholas. I mean, the timing is irrelevant, I guess. So putting it at Album 6 still works.
Yeah, I never really questioned it being in Album 6, but it does kind of make more sense here.
Right. But yeah, so Whit's just working on the imagination station because it's a slow day at Whit's End. And as he's working on it, Nicholas runs in and says he's running away from Eugene, and he hides somewhere in the Bible room, I'm assuming is where Mr. Whitaker is, because that's where the imagination station is.
Yeah.
And Whit's trying to get him to come out, and he's like, Nicholas, no one here by that name.
Nicholas is so funny in this scene. And all throughout this, I realized it right now, but throughout this whole episode, I realized that I have heard this episode a lot. Because I love Album 6. Like, it's probably one of my go-to albums. Not for this episode, it's for other episodes, but I'm listening to the whole album, therefore I've listened to this one a lot. And, like, this is just so many memorable lines in this episode. It's great.
Yeah, there's one in particular at the very end for me.
Okay, yeah. My notes, because, like, I don't need to write the synopsis. I know this whole episode, so my notes are really just lines that stuck out to me to keep me going through the script, so...
But yeah, I think he said one other thing other than no one here by that name. I don't remember what it was. They were both funny, but...
sorry he's not home, or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. But eventually Mr. Whitaker did get him to come out and tell him what was going on. And we start with an explanation that him and Eugene had been in the same computer programming-related class at the college. And one of their assignments, they had to come up with this program, and Eugene had come up with really a neat one. I just like how he says that. Which Whit had known about. But Nicholas had been curious about it, so he'd apparently gone and it must have been on Eugene's computer or something, but started like looking at the program or whatever and accidentally somehow trashed it. And he was convinced that Eugene would kill him when he finds out. Yeah, I think it's funny. Earlier he had mentioned something about Eugene killing him, and Mr. Whitaker is like, Eugene won't kill anybody. I don't think he's capable of it.
Yeah, which you would hope would be true of anyone, but it is just funny the way he says it about Eugene.
Yeah. But Nicholas begs Mr. Whitaker not to send him back to the college, and so Whit agrees and asks him to help him out by testing out the imagination station for him. So he gets in and pushes the red button.
Yeah, before he pushes the red button, I think, and Mr. Whitaker's kind of like prepping him for this episode, and he asks him, "Are you familiar with the New Testament?" He's like, "I don't know how familiar I am with it, but I've read it several times." It's like several times.
Yeah. Yeah. So he gets in, pushes the red button, and it takes him back to Rome. Drops him in the middle of the street where he almost gets run over. And as a side note, the imagination station really likes roads and doors.
Yeah.
It's always either a road or a door.
That's just a way to get the kid going the story. Like, if it put the kid in some easy, out-of-the-way spot, the kid might wander off, not the place they're supposed to be in the story, but put them in the road, they've got to get it going right away. to survive.
Yeah.
So,
Let me just say, I will forever wonder, maybe not forever, but I will wonder for a long time, is the Imagination Station open world? Can you just leave where you're supposed to be and go exploring? Like, could he have
yeah.
been like, oh, cool, you're running away. Have fun. See you later. I'm going to go look at the other part of Rome.
I I don't know. I feel like it's not because even when a kid is going along on the Adventurous Plan, it does randomly jump them other places without them knowing. So I would assume if the kid
Yeah.
wandered too far out of the intended story,
You have
it
hit
probably
a
would jump
wall.
them
You
back.
have hit a
Yeah,
wall.
yeah, yeah. But it would be interesting though if it was open world and they just just wandered off. Especially
Yeah.
at this point in time, I think the programs would be much more confined. But later, when it kind of makes it so that it kind of creates its own programs as the technology improves, I think the world
Yeah.
will become bigger and bigger.
True. But anyway, he starts by getting pushed out of the way by a man running through the streets who then tells him to run with him as they're running from a man in a chariot. And they get away for a moment, long enough to introduce each other. The man from the adventure, his name is Onesimus. He is from Colossae. And Nicholas introduced himself as Nicholas, and Onesimus is like, Nicholas. Sounds like a Greek name. He's like, oh, I'm not from Greece. I'm from Odyssey. You know? I love Onesimus'
Odyssey
inflection. He's like,
is
Odyssey
Greek.
is Greek.
How can you be from a Greek city and yet not be from Greece? It would take you a lot to explain.
But anyway, he explains that
Classic
the man
joke.
chasing them was a... Yes. You gotta love it. The man chasing them was a slave catcher named was it Flavius? Is that how you pronounce
I think
it?
it's Flavius, yeah, with a
Flavius.
V,
Okay, couldn't tell.
I think.
With a V. Okay, I thought it sounded more like a B, but I'll take your word for it.
It's one or the other.
Yeah. And Flavius sees them again eventually and starts chasing them again. They might have established that he was a runaway slave. I think.
Yeah, because he said, why would, because I think Erasmus asked him, why'd you run away? He's like, because I wanted to be free. And as they're running, he's like, you call this free?
Yeah. I think they also established part of the reason he had chased Onesimus so far away from home is because Onesimus had not only run away, but he had also stolen money and jewels and stuff to pay for himself to run away, essentially.
Yeah.
And so as they're running away, they're getting gained on because they're on foot. So they steal a horse in a market, and they put some distance between them and Flavius by jumping a cart in the market. But then as they keep going, Onesimus is talking about why that's where you always watch where you're going, as they don't watch where they're going and end up in a fountain in the market.
Yeah.
And when they fell off, Onesimus got hurt, and then a man from an alley nearby calls to them and leads them away from the main streets to get away and down into the sewers to hide. And it's an excellent place to hide, or except for, as Nicholas puts it, from rats the size of elephants.
Yeah. And incurable diseases.
Yeah.
Just love Nicholas's running commentary through this and through the run through the marketplace. Like, his just random one-off lines are great.
The man who saved them is Epaphras, also of Colossae. And then Nicholas is like, oh, you're both from Colossae. Maybe you know each other. And Epaphras is like, oh, I think you look familiar. And Onesimus is like, yes, we have a mutual acquaintance. And their mutual acquaintance was Onesimus' former master, Philemon. Then Onesimus demanded sanctuary from Epaphras, and Nicholas has to be told what that means. Epaphras did not own the home where he was staying, so he took them to the house where he was staying so that Onesimus could again demand sanctuary. And so they are taken to the house of a man. As they get there, Nicholas notices that there's a guard there, so he thinks it's a very secure place, but Onesimus explains that it's actually because the man living there is under house arrest. But they're taken to the house of Paul.
I wonder what kind of a guy this guy is.
Yes. Yes, they're taken to the house of the Apostle Paul. Is that where there's like a, we'll be back after this? Is that where the break happens?
No, I feel like... No, it does just randomly come back in, like in the exact moment, doesn't it? Because Nicholas realizes you're the Apostle Paul, and then, I think we get like our mid-episode break from Chris, but it comes right back to Nicholas being like, I can't believe you're the Apostle Paul. So it's just very clear there needs to be a break there.
New Testament?
Yeah. At some point, Nicholas is, I think it's while Nicholas is rambling on, Paul's like, Epaphras, how long did you say you were down in that
Yeah.
sewer?
Mm-hmm. Um, anyway, as they're in the house of Paul, Flavius had followed them and found them there. So they let him in, and he demands to arrest Onesimus. Well, Onesimus had sought sanctuary, which was his right, so he couldn't be arrested for that, but he still could have been arrested for all the charges of having destroyed things in the market and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um,
I find it funny when Flavius first bursts in, before even wanting to arrest Onesimus. I believe he asked Paul, he's like, "Are you the chief resident of this house? You're under
yeah,
arrest." Dude's already under arrest, Flavius.
yeah. I
read
did
the
bring
read
that
the
over you, but
situation.
yeah. You're under arrest. Thank you. I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah, you don't say.
How very observant.
Yeah,
But yeah, so then Paul offers to pay the debts that Onesimus had, which Flavius definitely doesn't understand. Neither does Onesimus. But then Flavius leaves, um, and Onesimus asks Paul, like, "Why did you pay my debts?" And Paul told him that because he had once had debts paid for him, and he likes to spread the grace and mercy of the person who had forgiven his debts. And Onesimus asked if he could know, like, who was this guy? And Paul's like, his name was Jesus. And then we get the old-fashioned imagination station fast forward.
yeah. To Nicholas being in a closet, I think. Does it put him in a closet that time?
I think it just puts him in the middle of the house, which is unusual for the imagination station. But because he's like, I think I'm still in Paul's house, but who are all these people?
Oh yeah, he's still in Paul's house, but there's a bunch of people in there now.
Yeah. Um, but it fast forwarded several weeks, maybe even they say weeks, but it seems like it's been over a month. Um,
Yeah,
maybe
a
several months
significant amount of
actually.
time.
Yeah. But in those weeks, months, Onesimus had been saved and had spent a lot of time with Paul, had become very useful to Paul, which apparently Onesimus means useful. I probably knew that from listening to this episode, but I had forgotten that. Um,
Yeah, I'd say this episode would be the only way I would know it, but yeah.
yeah. But he had chosen to be baptized before leaving, and Nicholas asked, like, well, where's he going? And he's told that he's returning to Philemon. And Nicholas could not believe that he would return to that, so he goes to talk to Onesimus. But Onesimus explained how he had to go back because the wrongs he had done were still on his heart, so I guess. So he wanted to go back to try to make those right. And Paul had written a letter to him to give to Philemon to hopefully help smooth things over between them and not have Philemon be too angry. Then Nicholas stayed to see the baptism before the adventure came to an end. And the line at the end of the adventure is what, like, I always you'd say, Nicholas, these are probably what I'm going to, is the way he says, Amen.
Amen. Yeah, that does stick in my head. The whole baptism scene really sticks with me because the verses that they are quoting as they baptize Onesimus is Psalm 51. They don't say that in the episode, but it is.
Hmm.
And anytime I read or hear Psalm 51, I think of this episode. I think I knew these verses from this, like, as a kid, like, I think before I knew, like, oh, it's Psalm 51, and then eventually as I got older, I, like, read Psalm 51.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's from this episode, but, like, I always think of that when I hear it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so after the adventure comes to an end, Nicholas asked asked Mr. Whitaker what happened to Onesimus. And Mr. Whitaker tells him, like, we don't know for sure, but according to tradition, he was freed once he returned to Philemon, and then he became a leader in the church there and a bishop of the church of Colossae, I think, is what he said, right?
I think he might say Ephesus.
That's what I was thinking, but I feel like Colossae would make more sense, but maybe it's Ephesus. I didn't have it put down. Yeah. And then he, according to tradition, is also the one who compiled all of Paul's letters, so he was instrumental in the forming of the New Testament.
Well, it's because
and then
Nicholas
Mr. Whitaker.
idea.
Well, yeah. But then Mr. Whitaker tells Nicholas the lesson you've all been waiting for. But none of that would have happened if he hadn't returned to Philemon. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah, because it's like, Yeah, you want me to return to Eugene.
And he's like, yeah, Nicholas said, and he's like, and I'm going to go back. I just wish there was a better way to help smooth things over. And it's like, well, let's take a page from Paul. And then he starts writing Nicholas a letter to try to help him out.
Yeah. I think it probably would have ruined the mood of the episode because I imagine Eugene wasn't overly gracious, at least not initially. But it would have been really funny to have seen the scene between Eugene and Nicholas, because I just think of like when like Bernard messes up Eugene's computer, or like there's other times where people mess with Eugene's computer over the show, and it's just always humorous how much he freaks out. So it would have been a bit
Yeah.
entertaining, I think, to see his reaction. But I'm
Yeah.
sure, like in the end, he came around pretty well to Nicholas. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We went through that pretty fast, but I don't know that I have anything else. It's a good, concise Imagination Station episode. I was wondering how many Imagination Station episodes is this now? Because it's not very many.
is it only the second one?
It might be. I'm trying to think. What's the first one?
The first one is when Digger goes back to the crucifixion,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and that
I'm
is
trying to. I don't
in
remember
album
any other
five,
ones.
but it was before album five actually started. So yeah, I believe it's only the second one,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a good one. Like I said, very memorable just because I listened to album six a lot, and this
Yeah.
may shock some fans, but I am very excited to be getting into album six and out of album five because as great as the Blackguard
You know what
saga
I'm excited
is,
for? We're almost to Heat Wave.
I know. I was thinking that too. We're almost a heat wave, but like I was saying, as much as good as the Blackguard Saga is, it's not something I gravitated towards when I was younger.
No.
Album six, for whatever reason, probably like the war stories, uh, definitely was. So I'm very excited to be getting into these
I feel like
episodes.
6, 7, and 8 are all really good albums, like that we
Really
listened
good
to a
ones.
lot.
Yeah, for sure. Because yeah, six has got Heat Wave and Rescue from Man to a Point. Seven has the best Odyssey episode of all time, Thanksgiving at Home, and
Yes.
eight has Suspicious Minds. So yeah, we've
Also,
got
the
some great ones
softball,
coming up
the
in the
winning
months
edge.
ahead.
I love that one.
The winning eight,
Yes. Which also means
winning
Bart
edge.
Rathbone.
Yeah, very true. So yeah. Some people might be shocked that we're really excited to be done with Blackguard because we want to get it back to the episodes after, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We might not be the
We'll
typical Odyssey fans in that a lot of our favorite episodes do not fall related to Blackguard or Novacom. Like, we
no.
like a lot of the more regular everyday ones,
Yeah,
I feel
and
like.
nothing against those ones. Like the
No,
Black
they're
Saga
still
is great,
good. We're just,
and I'm yeah,
yeah.
but
Well, yeah,
yeah,
I guess that does it for today's episode. Next week is um, Good
yeah.
Business. Is that what it's
Next
called?
week's episode, yes, it'll be Good Business. Still for album six, and the return of Robin. We haven't seen her in a little while, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, fun times. Yeah, I guess that does it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, comment below any thoughts, questions, whatever. Subscribe wherever you get the podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.